We do it again. Footy and Frothy's back with a round of 9 review. Barney's, well, he's so sick of it all. He spent the last 2 days throwing up. Here we are, back in virtual land, soldiering on in the middle of winter. Miserable times, miserable weather. Yeah, it's all right. Where else would we want to be?
No, that's it.
The
Exactly.
bunker?
I don't want to be anywhere near the fucking bunker. Actually, no, put me in there. We'll have a crack.
Can't be any worse. Actually, give us a crack. Yeah, exactly right. Anyway, we'll get there, I'm sure. What's happening?
No, as you said, think I copped a bit of food poisoning on Sunday night / early hours of Monday morning. So been on the rough end of things, but mate, the less said about it, the better. Realistically,
Yeah, all right.
We soldier on.
We'll move on. I just realised there's a lot of vodka in that cup I just drunk from. But anyway, what can go wrong there? We've got lots to talk about, a bit of controversy this week we'll get to. We've got some good footy along the way. Well, it rained and everyone forgot how to catch, was one of the stories of the round in a few of those games.
A lot of them decided just not to pass the football either.
Or not to pass the ball. So it was an odd week. I guess the most recent headline is Dave Fafita. Most recent one is that Wayne Bennett apparently is being tabled a 3-year deal at South. We'll see that play out first. Dave Fafita has met with Penrith, been offered $850 a year for 3 years. Roosters apparently have offered 4 years around the same coin, and Titans 2 years on $1 million, which I guess is the rest of his contract. I don't know what we can speculate on, given nothing's been announced. I suspect Penrith are the inside runners, but who knows?
We'll know by Thursday. That's when the clause in the contract lapses. So
yeah.
Whether he goes and he'll take up one of these two options by Thursday, or he'll put himself on he'll either go back with the Titans or put himself out as a free agent, I guess, after that into 2025. So, yeah, definitely an advantage. I'd say most teams, if they could get hold of him for the right money, would want him in their squad. Not sure how he fits into, the Roosters probably going to have to let go. They've got about 1,000 back rowers.
Well, the most recent, and obviously he's now the hottest back row in the comp, Angus Crichton. Apparently they want him to stay, is the latest mail.
That's why they've kept about 700 aside,
which
apparently.
Would suggest that if they are going to bring Fafita in, the likes of your Wongs, your Butchers, your Tupanuas probably are all.
Yeah, we'll have a look at their reserve grade this week. You've got Baker. The Baker's been dropped, so you've got Baker, Satili, and Zia Wong playing in the back row for your reserve grade side.
Isn't Baker Butcher? Baker's Butcher. Yeah.
Not a bad lineup.
And throw in, they got Spencer Leniu coming back, as well as Terrell. They're doing all right, but obviously the sombrero is still in action. As noted, when they said they had $4 million to spend for 4 spots, I was very impressed they could get a squad of 26 under $6 million when that included the current New South Wales and Australian captain, Victor Radley. Where else do you want to go there? Yeah. Anyway.
The registered contracts, I'm sure, read a couple of $100,000 less than what's in play. Not saying there's anything untoward there, but obviously you can get hold of third-party contracts, and they're all a part of the deal. It's just how your contacts, I guess, people you know.
Exactly. Any thoughts? Obviously, Penrith would love to have him back in a kick-out style role, and reckon have it.
Absolutely. He'd add another string to Penrith's bow. Realistically, he's lifted his work rate now too, so he probably fits in there a little bit better than he would have 12, 18 months ago, where he was sort of fading in and out of games. He'll get a kick up the arse, I'd imagine, if he gets into that Penrith squad and be told exactly how it is and what they expect out of him. If he's chasing premierships, they're probably the two best realistically at this moment in time, and unless you're looking at a couple of the others in and around those spots as the Broncos and stuff like that. But teams, are they able to fit him in? If they were, they probably would have already put it in.
For whatever reason, if he was going to stay, he was at Brisbane. I feel like I wouldn't necessarily the bridge is burnt, but
I'd love to see him stay at the Titans. Realistically, they need to build off something, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fafita goes, and you might see Tino second guessing himself as well down the track after he comes back from his injury. But in a perfect world, I'd like to see him stay at the Titans, but it would not surprise me one bit if you see him land at Penrith on Thursday.
I agree. I did bet a friend of the show, Jamie, $500 Titans wouldn't make the finals in the next 3 years. So go free, Dave. Go somewhere else.
You got to go, mate. You got to go.
He couldn't give me a reason why, apart from he thought so. So whatever, take his money.
Yeah, fair enough.
If anyone else wants to bet with dagbet.com, reach out. All right. Injury news.
The Canberra fella from last year. Anyway.
I haven't heard from him.
No, funnily enough.
Poor bugger. Injury news. We've got South of in grave
what
state.
Dean Hawkins. It wasn't bad enough for South Sydney. Jesus Christ.
12 weeks with a quad. Gray, 8 weeks syndesmosis. Cam Murray, looking at about 8 weeks as well with his, I think it's hip flexor. Hughes is looking at 2 to 3 weeks, not picked this week. Poor old Pappy, another fracture there in his leg, looking at about 6 weeks. A poor bastard.
Oh, it is a break, is it? Wasn't syndesmosis?
No, cleaner fracture, I believe.
Shit, okay.
But that's a good thing. Like, it's not a...
Better, yeah.
Not an ugly one. But obviously the luck he's had over just when he was starting to come good, and you forget how good he is at his best, and we saw a glimpse of it on the weekend, a couple of them. But hopefully he can get back and finish the season. Adam Reynolds in a big blow for Brisbane, looking at about 3 months, tearing his biceps. Broken jaw for Jesse Arthurs. He's going to miss about 6 weeks. And we've got some HIAs for Boyd, Capel, and Tessie New, who are all out this week. I know Capel actually has, I think he has a knee injury, but all looking like
calf.
They're out. Calf, yeah, looking like they're all out this week. Judiciary news. 4 weeks, Aiden Caesar for his non-hip drop, but whatever they relabeled it. Isaac Tango, after putting Hawkins out for 8 weeks, only got a week. So explain that, David.
Yeah, no. Obviously, there's a bit of loading there in Caesar's favour. He got a grade 3, whereas Targo somehow got a grade 2. And yeah, you got 3 prior offences sitting there on Caesar's record, but no, the Panther one looked a lot worse than the Tigers one.
Well, the bloke got up and finished the game, whereas one, as I said, is now out for 2 months. But I wouldn't dare suggest it has anything to do with the jersey.
He was out a little bit later, but yeah, when he decided to take the kick off. But
Jacob Host, a couple of weeks for his shot on. It was a shoulder charge, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other news you want to get to? We'll save it for the relevant
we'll
game
get through it as we go.
Alrighty. As I said, dropsy round. Even going back and looking at some highlights to refresh my brain. A lot of drop ball, a lot of missed grubbers, a lot of very good players not in very good positions at fullback, so on and so forth. Felt like a bit of the tail of the round, but we kicked off 42-12. Panthers over South. We looked pretty good for about the first 15, but what did the stats say?
We had 2 tries to 7, 2 out of 2 conversions played, 7 out of 7. 12-18 at halftime, Penrith in front, 78% completion for both sides. 671 plus running meters for the Panthers. 1 line break to 10, 18 tackle bust to 33, 5 offloads to 9, 2 forced dropouts from the Penrith side, 371 tackles for Souths, 313 for Penrith. 7 errors to 12, 8 penalties conceded to 5, 2 ruck infringements to 4, 2 inside the 10 to 1, 2 sin bins for South Sydney and 1 for the Penrith side. Supercoach Garner with 118 Supercoach points, Edwards with 111, and Schneider with 89. Then you had 6 other Panthers before you got to Keon Kulamatangi on 53.
Yeah, well, as I said, South came out firing. They looked pretty good. Yeah. Led by said Kulamatangi. I thought he was great to kick off that game there. Hawkins chimed in. Walker got going, but it all fell apart fairly quickly after that first 20 barn. But what do you make of this?
Yeah, a couple of them cop knocks along the way, which I don't think helped.
Oh, absolutely not. And we saw this game and the Brisbane game, how important, I guess, everyone is on the field. But back into this, when Damien Cook was playing fullback and they were just putting bombs up and he was nowhere to be seen. We saw it a bit in the Brisbane game too when they had to shuffle. You've seen it a bit when they have to shuffle back rowers out into an edge. It's just danger signs these days.
Yeah, and Penrith exploit it better than most teams, to be honest. They've had a couple of games this year where they've really torn teams apart by exposing a back rower defending in out in the outside edges, or in this case, Cook going to fullback. Penrith didn't really seem like themselves for half an hour. I thought they seemed a bit slow, lethargic, and they really weren't hitting the mark with a lot of their passing. Obviously, a sin bin in the first 5 minutes doesn't help. With Targo, obviously, they're getting sent off for 10 minutes for the hip drop. And Souths were able to take advantage. They got a bit of space out there, and they went left as they generally like to do, and found some space down that edge, which was dubious put down. I'm pretty sure was the one I'm thinking about. But anyway, Bunker said
Funny
yes.
how many of them got awarded this week, wasn't it?
There's a couple of the hands slid down the side of the ball, and a couple got awarded, and a couple didn't.
One of the Titans game bounced higher than some kickoffs, but anyway.
Yeah, and a nice little kick in behind. And Edwards was he was in the line, so that they picked that out quite well because he just made a tackle, obviously, and nobody took his spot up at fullback. And the way it rolled around, it ended up with points for South. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought they were well on top at the start of the game, and it looked like a different side. Obviously, leading into this game, there's been some downright horrible performances coming out of South, and they look pretty well together and enthusiastic at the start of this game. But yeah, right on the return of Targo, and Souths were building through the middle. But 2 minutes after Targo comes back, Arrow gets himself sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes, and that was just repeated infringements. Penrith was working away at their line, and just stupidity in the ruck. There was a lot of that this weekend. Obviously, the rucks were a little bit slower than normal, and I think players just tried to, take advantage of how wet it was and pretend they were slipping around and slow, trying to put a bit extra into the ruck when they probably really didn't need to, because the rucks were already slow enough as they were. But Arrow gets sent for 10, and then 30 seconds later, from a forward pass or a fucking knock on, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how this try got let in, but the pass from Schneider over the top that bounced, and then Taruva scoops it up and scores. You can't tell me that's not a forward pass or a knock on.
That's right.
I don't know
agree.
what the hell that was.
And again, we saw 4 of them this weekend that were all allowed.
It just fell out of his hands and just flopped over the top. It landed well in front of where he was, and so it's either got to be a knock on or a forward pass. But it was a try, and then straight away again, a couple of minutes later, they get straight back down there again. I think pretty sure South gave away a penalty, piggyback Penrith down there, and it was just a simple dummy. This is what's let South down so many times this year. Just their one-on-one defensive reads, especially in the middle of the field, have been horrendous at times. Blake's just going through untouched. So I don't think anyone put a hand on Schneider in this one.
No.
This dummy ran between 2 blokes who were both going in the wrong direction. And yeah, it happened again. And a couple of times in this game, there's a lot of rubbish after that. The game sort of turned into an arm wrestle, and in the slop, they were all sort of doing stupid shit in the ruck. A lot of ruck infringements, a lot of penalties for both teams. And Penrith was still a bit off, but I think Souths were really going out of their way to try to slow it down even more than what they needed to, and they were getting penalised for it. They were trying to change the way that the game was being played, but about 10 minutes into the second half, Penrith really got up to that speed. They started playing the footy they wanted to play.
Well, again, that first 10 minutes of the second half, Souths came out pretty well. They came out with intent. Cam Murray just before he got injured, really started taking the game on. Once he went, that was it. Yeah, that was when they found their groove in the last 20. I guess that was the end of South's energy as well by about then. I guess that as I was sure you're about to say, that May try summed it up really, the back end of this.
Oh, that was pathetic, realistically. Like, they knew, how do you not know that it's a 20-metre tap?
Yeah.
And there was not one person back there except for the fullback who wasn't going to get near either of them. Like, I'm pretty sure by the time Edwards got to the 20-metre line, there was nobody on the 30-metre line except for Cook back there at fullback.
Yeah.
But all he had to do was run 15 metres, draw the bloke, and it was a try. Like, there was absolutely nothing going on from South, and that's when they just completely put their heads down and gave it up. But it was that role. It's that what Penrith do. They get to the speed of the play that they like to play at, Yo starts dominating in the middle with the ball playing, picking out selective players in the likes of Edwards with his running and the back rowers, and they just hit their lines time and time again and just turn the ruck over. And if you're not fit enough to continually get back your 10 and set a straight line, they just pick you to pieces.
Absolutely. I thought Fisher Harris had a really good outing as well. It was another one that he's had putting together a good few weeks now since he's come back. You mentioned, he was outstanding again. And Luke Garner, obviously a couple of tries, but ran a real nice line for a few of those tries. Was unlucky not to get another. And
I thought he was a bit lucky with the couple that he copped, to be honest. There was a lot of other blokes doing the work, but
absolutely.
he was in the right spot.
But he was doing good work all over the field, I thought. One of his better games for Penrith, definitely. So,
last 10 minutes, Taruva was playing games with him.
Yeah.
He ended up playing 7, I'm pretty sure, for the last 10 minutes.
Well, Edwards came off, didn't he? Edwards came off, so he got
he was playing fullback, but he was popping up in and around
he
the
just
half.
decided, I'm fullback now.
Yeah, and they put him on the wing and that beautiful little flick pass when he was about to get put into touch for Garner's second. And then, that lovely little move down the right-hand side where he just picked them apart with some ball playing as well. It's got a future there, mate. He's coming your way.
Yeah,
so
good player.
Set up two lovely tries. I thought Burgess was good with limited minutes. I was surprised they didn't give him a few more, actually. I don't know if he's carrying an injury or what. But
their momentum almost stopped both times he came off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in the second half. Well, as I mentioned, Murray, but he was the other one that was sort of troubling them there, and then they just pulled him.
Yeah, and their other big fellas in Kepi and Moali were decent, but they seem that the longer you stretch their minutes out, the less the average, the average sort of drops off, whereas Tom doesn't seem to drop off like they do. So
yeah,
I'm not sure why he's not getting a few more minutes, but and Keon and Walker were South's best when Walker wanted to get involved again. There's times where he just doesn't. You mentioned Fisher, Harris, and Martin. I thought they had good games. Smith and Eisenhuth. They're really surprising how consistent those guys are, considering how young they are, and the bench time that they get. Lindsay Smith and Eisenhuth, well, not Eisenhuth, but definitely Lindsay Smith. May finally got back on the score sheet.
Yeah, no, it was heaps good. So everyone I missed on my multis last week, every single one scored this week.
All
May,
three
Hudson,
May
Young
scored this week too.
Yeah, Young, yeah, all three did. And Avarillo, so it was good to see. I was so happy.
I'm sure you.
I've got another multi-story for you later as well, but anyway.
Taruva was very good. I thought Schneider had a hell of a game too. He was very controlling when they needed him to in that first hour of the game. And then, Yo, Edwards, Garner, they were all brilliant. I thought Edwards was probably the man of the match before they pulled him off at the last few bits of the game. He was the one that was really setting up all the attacking impetus at the start. Runs for way too many meters for anyone should be running in a game of football. And it's just how physical he is. Schneider, I thought, was a good little general there for the first part of the game. Obviously, set up a try, scored one himself, and his kicking game was pretty instrumental in getting Penrith around the field. And then I either had Garner or Yo for the one.
I didn't think of Schneider, actually. I had Edwards, Garner, Yo / Taruva, but happy to put... we'll go 2 to Garner, 1 to Schneider. How's that?
Yeah, give Schneider 1.
Thoughts on Jerome Luai's last couple of weeks?
I think he's been brilliant, to be honest. I think this is some of the best form we've seen out of Luai for years. You could say years, ever since he was red hot when he got his New South Wales debut, and then pretty much ever since then, this last 3 or 4 weeks of footy has been as good as I've seen Luai play. Consistently taken on the line, playing a lot more direct. He's still obviously he loves stepping around and trying to look for holes and probing.
Well, I think it's a conscious or he's been directed to stay in his lane, for lack of a better term. Like Schneider will clear his role. He hasn't gone looking to be the number one playmaker. When I guess in years gone by he has a little bit when Nathan's been out,
and he's taken the first option more than trying to back out of a run and then go again and find a different hole. If he thinks there's an option on, he's taken it.
It was a fantastic ball. Who did he put over? Was it Garner, the first try?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
or
it was
Smith.
Garner for the
It was
first
Garner, yeah.
try.
The little short ball there was good.
But it just helped your back rowers and any support players because they know that rather than having to sit back and wait to see what you're going to do, if you go, they know they can come with you. So it helps both of you realistically, and the directness and decisiveness out of the way he's been playing recently has been fantastic.
I know this was the 5-day backup, so I'm forgiving Penrith a little bit, but I watched the back end of the Cowboys game into the start of this game, and I think a loss is coming for Penrith. I think that they have looked sluggish almost for the last 3 or 4 weeks, to be honest. But and I know I said this was a 5-day turnaround, so maybe you can forgive a little bit of that. And then I went and looked at the draw, and I went, okay, they got Bulldogs, Warriors. Then 25th of May, they got the Sharks. Oh, there it is. I think Sharks might hit them at exactly the right time to
Pretty
knock
sure
them
that's
off.
the Origin
And it's
layover as well.
it's Origin, so I don't know when the 25th is. Whether there'll be any. Well, if it's the first one, they'll all be out, won't it? Round 12.
Pretty sure,
13.
yeah. But Penrith's a funny one though because their attitude and effort just it never wavers. Like they've always got enough. Doesn't matter who they're playing. If they're getting behind and they need more, they just seem to find it. So.
Oh yeah,
and you got
I'm not
Cleary
questioning
coming
that by
back.
any
There's been a
means.
few moving parts in and around there as well that have been in and out. A few of their forwards have been in and out with recently, and then Cleary as well. So yeah, there's still massive upside for Penrith.
And that's still 3 weeks away, a lot to play at. But my gut is, when you're tipping Penrith, just give it some extra thought because I think there's something coming. But they do have quite a helpful draw for the next. Well, realistically, outside of Sharks, they don't play another top 8 team to the Broncos in July, so that could all work out quite well for them, given the state of where the Warriors and Co are at. But anyway, that was just a thought I had. 26-24, the Raiders came back against a pretty average Seagulls effort for the last hour of this game, if we're being honest. But what did the stats say?
Everything I've heard in and around the media the last couple of days has been, oh, you can forgive Manly for this. There was a couple of lucky tries for Canberra. Go back and have a look at the Manly tries. Fucking 2 of them where they were kissed on the dick for as well. Like the ball just bounced perfectly for them.
You had the intercept where it bobbled out of Whitehead's hands, and you had, and realistically, DC's one where it bobbled
should have been cleaned up.
Absolutely.
And there was another one where it was just a horrible one-on-one miss. Like
people, more and more, most of these blokes would go and watch the 5-minute highlight package and make their assessment, I think.
Quite possibly. But yeah, 5 tries apiece, 2 out of 5 conversions for Manly, 3 out of 5 for the Raiders. A missed 2-point field goal attempt for Manly right on the buzzer there. 20-6 at halftime in Manly's favour. 79% completion played, 85%. 77 plus post-contact meters for Canberra. 3 line breaks to 1. 23 tackle busts to 35. 8 offloads to 10. 1 forced dropout for the Raiders, 298 tackles played, 317, 11 errors for Manly, 9 for the Canberra, 3 penalties conceded to 8, 3 ruck infringements to 2, 4 inside the 10s to 2, a sin bin for Canberra. Whitehead with 107 Supercoach points, Garrick with 102, and Tom Trebojevic with 92.
Well, they came out flying, and I know they had a bit of luck to score those points, but they were on top for that time, and it felt
absolutely
just felt sitting there. It was one of those things, and I was watching it, trying to make dinner and everything else as well. And you go, oh, it's one of those games you just thought there's going to be points every 5 minutes for Manly, and then they sort of got into the wrestle, and they didn't really have an answer after that. Canberra, a lot of teams would have shut up shop and freaked out a bit there, but Canberra just
100%
went around their business. They didn't go almost just. I wouldn't say plotted, but just said we're going to just roll our sleeves up and try and get back into this game more than anything else. Didn't try anything too crazy. And really didn't try to do too crazy the last 5 minutes, really.
It's been a bit of that this year where a team will get out to a 2 or 3 point try lead really early. And it seems to counteract, the defensive team seems to be able to counteract it by basically going, okay, we know exactly where they're going now. So that side continually goes to those points on the field where they've had success early. And the defenses adjust. And there was a big part of that where obviously I don't know how you're not ready for Tom and you're not ready for DCE short kicking when you start with Manly. But they seem to react really well. They put a lot of pressure on DCE. They put 2 men on Tom every time he was near the ball. Obviously cut out a few errors as well, which was hurting them at the start of the first half.
I think so. Just a lot of those sort of 12-point turnarounds or 12-point leads come with ever since the 6 again come with momentum. You just see teams get the ball for 10 minutes straight. Happened in the Tigers game, happened in the Melbourne game. They just have 100%. So much ball where they have to score, and then all of a sudden, the next 10, it just flips back around, and they claw back a try or two. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. It just shows you what determination and effort could do, because Canberra were well and truly, they weren't getting blown off the field, but they were getting pretty well handled through big parts of the first half. But they were continually in the game. Like, they were constantly scrambling. They probably saved a try or two in that first half as well, which could have been real ugly if they didn't. And yeah, the loose pass and a grubber, as we mentioned earlier, with the intercept and the DCE try. Canberra had the same thing with the Whiten intercept and the flick, the Whitehead intercept and the flick pass for their try. And there was another one where Strange basically just went through untouched, I think, and set up some points. But yeah, they really fought hard, scrambled in defence, because Manly did have them shot on the edges a couple of times, and they managed to get players across there and shut it down. And they really got physical with Manly, especially at the start of the second half. And the longer this season goes, the less Manly seem interested in getting into that fight in the middle of the field. We've seen it. We've talked about the spread early.
How many of the teams, when you get to those 7, 8, 9, 10, or 2 points between them all, it's always the teams that are willing to get in that scrap, and it's always your Canberras that find a way to win that extra game or win the game they should have lost and that sort of thing. And as you say, Manly don't feel interested in that.
No, they've got Nathan Brown who's interested in running the ball, but he doesn't seem to be interested in trying to put the shoulder in and continually work in defence, which is a bit of a problem, obviously. And they don't have the biggest forward pack in the world. They mentioned that was an issue for them at the start of the year. They've tried to negate that with going wide early and putting points on teams and making it a different style of play. But when you are able to get into that arm wrestle and take it back into the middle of the field and really make them work to fight you off realistically, when your forwards just keep coming and bashing into that front door, they really get on the back foot and they seem to struggle, which has been a bit consistent for them this year. I can't remember them really winning like a forward battle. Like,
there was one early on.
At times they have. They gave Penrith a pretty good bash. Like, they went pretty hard at Penrith through the middle of the field.
And maybe in round 1 was probably the last time when
they were pretty good in Vegas. Yeah,
when they beat they beat South, which in hindsight, yeah.
They do seem to have some issues struggling with the pressure when teams come at them through the middle.
Whitehead led the way back. He was fantastic. Flick passes, intercepts, grubbers, tries from grubbers. Nearly could have had another one along the way there.
Constantly screaming at them.
This would have been in his top 5 NRL games, I would have thought. Just the leader.
It's probably the best game I think he's ever played.
Yeah, he was outstanding here. He'll be getting 3 points from me at least later on.
Absolutely.
KO Weeks just kept trying, didn't give up, had the balls in that back end to put some cheeky kicks in and had some success with them. Obviously, a little bit of level low in terms of long kicking, and it was showing up. But when you've got a forward pack like this,
trying, he's the only bloke there to do it. And
he also knew, you see some players in similar situations curl up, and he tried. He said, if we're going to win this game, I'm going to have a crack at myself. And you've got to respect that. I thought he was more than serviceable. And
some good running as well, bringing players onto the ball.
Yep.
Strange did the same as well. He does his work out a little bit wider, so he's working more so with the outside backs. But I thought Weeks was combining quite well with his back rowers and Whitehead in the middle.
Tomoko looked dangerous again. He was good, and Kotrick a decent return to first grade. You sort of mentioned all the ones for Manly. Yeah, anything else you want to touch on there?
I thought he was pretty good. Kotrick, actually. I thought he made a big difference to this side, coming in on that edge. Jake, obviously, again, he just tackles anything that moves anywhere near him. If he can get his hands on it, he's going to grab it and drag it to the ground. It's just what he does. He's fantastic in the middle of the field. Paseka, Aloye were, okay. I thought Croker was pretty good when he was on the field. Obviously, injury didn't help at the back end. Garrick was good, but a couple of errors, and I just wish the bloke could pass a little bit more often, to be honest, because Saab probably had 2 tries there that he should have just scored.
Obviously, he scored one himself, but there was one down the sideline. There's a couple. There was one where he had Saab outside. Yeah. There's definitely one where he had someone to the inside and he didn't pass as well, yeah.
And he just... Yeah, I reckon the game probably ends differently if he
especially that
2 or 3
timing.
times
All of a sudden,
it's
a 20-point game again, rather than a 6 or 8-point game.
Yeah, 100%. Tom and DCE were their best, obviously.
Yeah.
Especially early. Bit different towards the back. I think you mentioned pretty much everyone in the Raiders. Tarpanay was decent.
Yeah.
Without being at his best. Trey Mooney was good. One that we haven't mentioned. Young was always good in that side. Smithies has turned into a really good worker for that side and does a lot of good work in the middle. Mentioned Weeks, and Whitehead was brilliant. Whitehead was the best player on the field.
Yep, he can have 3. I went 2 to Weeks and 1 to DC or Tommy, but
I went to Weeks. Yep, DCE, Tom or Young was my 3 that I.
All right, Tommy or Daly. Probably Tommy. Or Tommy.
Tom.
Yeah.
We'll
give one
I think
to Tom.
Individually probably dragged them a bit further.
Yeah. Then we got to 40-18, the Roosters over the Broncos, a game which live was a bit weird because it blew out before I realised it blew out. It still felt like a close game. Then all of a sudden, hang on, they're on for 50 here. But while it was entertaining and high quality, and I dare say both teams, you can forgive Brisbane, as we'll get to, a little bit, but I don't know what that means for the rest of the year, missing their halfback. But what did the stats say first?
I don't know if I can forgive him that, to be honest, but I've been a little bit off him the last two or 3 weeks. So, 3 tries to the Broncos.
You actually were quite bullish. You did tip the Roosters, didn't you?
I did, yeah. 3 tries to the Broncos, 7 to the Roosters. 3 out of 3 conversions played 6 out of 7. It was 18-6 at halftime to the Roosters. 78% completions played 80%. 251 plus running meters for the Roosters, which you don't normally see against the Broncos team. 3 line breaks to 10, 31 tackle busts played 37, 9 offloads to 15, 1. The hell is that? I don't know. 296 tackles played 351, 13 errors to 10, 3 penalties conceded to 6, 3 ruck infringements to 2, 1 inside the 10 against the Roosters. Sin bin for the Broncos. Crichton with 151 Supercoach points, Watson with 125. Terrell May with 120, Teddy with 120, and then you had Young and Mam on 84. I thought it was a terrific game for big parts. First 50, 60 minutes it was a really, really good game. Roosters were a little bit sloppy for the first 20 minutes. I thought Brisbane failed to take advantage of that, to be honest.
Yeah, they did.
A fair bit of momentum, time with the ball. Roosters' goal line defence was fantastic, and that's been one of the things that they've been really good at for the last however long since Robbo's been there, realistically.
This year, them and Melbourne clearly have the best goal line defence.
Seems that way, yeah. I thought Brisbane probably should have punished them a couple of times. The untimely errors from Walsh. In the attack, Cobbo seemed a little disinterested in this game for whatever reason.
Well, it was almost like once he got moved to the other side of the field, that was the end of it. He took no part. And once he was out of centre there and over in the wing, I just felt like you didn't see him again.
No, that's true.
On Walsh, it was very much one of these games you talk about. He almost needs to he needs to just realise at times you don't have to push every pass.
And he was kicking a hell of a lot.
Well, I think obviously the loss of Reynolds and Ezra doesn't have that long kicking game, so.
No, but just like there was chip kicks and rubber kicks that really weren't on.
It was almost like
didn't serve a purpose unless you pull off the miracle play and you grab it yourself and score.
Yeah,
it's really disadvantageous to your side. Some of the stuff he did.
It was very much it was just watching him throughout this game. it's almost like sometimes you just got to realise it's okay to get tackled on the fourth. Like a lot of that, he was trying to push that one extra on the sweep play, or as you say, try and kick through the line. But what I was talking about was the long kicking later in the game. But yeah, you're right. It's one of those games. But we've been saying it for 3 years. One day this is all going to click, and he's going to get 300 Supercoach points.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But it's not.
Another
it can't
day he
happen
runs
every
through
game.
and picks up 2 of those kicks and scores tries off them. But
when you're playing high pressure, high pressure, good teams,
they were playing pressure footy. They had a whole heap of momentum.
You can't
and he sort of threw it away a couple of times. Yeah.
Ezra did his best once Reynolds went off. I thought
Ezra was fantastic.
You know, Ezra. I don't know what the plan is. He should be their 7 once Reynolds goes. I think he needs to get in and around the ball a lot more. The concern is his longer kicking game, which I still haven't seen a lot of. But he's so quick. You can get around. You can get around that.
Can do it.
That's right. And if you got Walsh there, you got whether Madden outside him, whether it's a bigger body, whether it's someone else. I just love watching him play first receiver because he just comes up with. He's just very good at beating people 1-on-1. He's good at sniffing around there, and he's so fast over 20 meters.
Yeah, I think that's why they like him as the 6. He doesn't have to control as much and doesn't have to create for others. He can sort of try to create more.
That's the modern 6, isn't it?
For
really?
himself.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be a bad thing as a 7. Some of the best 7s that we've ever seen were those type of players that would take on the line and have a crack and run through.
Closer to a Hughes, I guess, than anyone else, really.
Yeah, 100%. Johns used to do it a lot.
Yeah.
Likes of Kamali used to do it quite a bit, run into the line and have a crack. But it's I thought the effort from both teams was real impressive up until about that hour mark, and Brisbane did sort of fall away towards the back end of the game. Obviously, Reynolds' injuries didn't help. But I thought they would have been really disappointed to go in 12-0 at half, down by 12 at half time.
Yeah.
I thought they probably should have been in front.
Especially, but both those were soft. Well, especially Guzzi's second one. I'll get to him in a sec. Was soft. You got to say. But we'll get to him now. He was absolutely phenomenal in this game. He was incredible. He was everywhere, and obviously he got to torment some tied back rollers towards the back end. But at the start of this game, he was on fire. Intercepts, tackle busts off. Every time he touched the ball, he was offloading. He made a shit ton of tackles to go with it. He needs to be the first picked back rower for New South Wales, and it's not even a question in my mind now.
At the moment, yeah, 100%. And a lot of credit has to be given to the halves too. They've stopped overplaying their hand. They either take the ball and run direct and take their chance themselves, or they're just moving the ball on now. Whereas before they'd fuck around with it and try to do something different and calling blokes back on the inside and setting up 3 and 4 different options. Now they're either going straight at the line themselves and taking someone with them, or they're just giving the ball to the outside backs and to the back rowers. And it's really impressive.
I think
Tedesco
I think,
well.
But doesn't that just come back to? I think they've just finally just said Luke Keary's got to take that back step, let Walker play like Walker, and let the rest of the team play like the rest of the team.
But even Keary's not going sideways.
No.
Like he was. He's actually going
towards... else has helped that? Connor Watson.
Going towards the line. He was brilliant in this game.
He has had he's put together 2 great efforts, to the point where I would almost be reluctant to change him. Tell Rick...
If Crichton didn't score 2 tries in this game, Watson gets man of the match, hands down.
Yes.
He was all over the middle of the field. They ended up moving him into 9, and he was just as effective at 9 when Cheese got taken off. But the way that he was linking with his halves and dragging forwards with him, he seems to have a really good connection with being able to dive towards the line and take a front rower with him or a back rower with him.
I wonder if you could use him and then unlock Victor on an edge. Have him just bully some guys out wide rather than having to do all that work in the middle.
I think the fact they got 7 edges probably.
But we talked about earlier. I know, and apparently 8.
And Victor does a hell of a lot of grunt work in the middle of the field, especially defensively.
And that's not a knock on Victor either. Just a thought.
But even Watson's defence in this was fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen him tackle as well in a game of footy. He was dropping blokes quite consistently, actually, in the middle of the field. Some of those big guys, obviously, they put a target on him, and Carrigan and Haas gave him a bit of a workover, but he didn't shy away from it.
Absolutely. Teddy.
Broncos. Go on, Teddy.
No, Teddy won the Origin points battle, and I don't think it was even close. It was 10-8 round, if not worse, because he was fantastic
maybe.
through the all the usual Tedesco. Great kick returns, great support play. Didn't overplay his hand again. Just picked his spots. They just look like they're just really humming at the moment. The Chooks.
And wasn't trying to get around people.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? He was putting his head down and just beelining it for the gap. Whether he went through the gap and came out the other side didn't really matter, because the speed that he went into the line, it was always a quick play the ball after, even if he didn't get his nose through the line. So
You want to mention the Broncos?
I was going to say they never gave up. They kept trying, throwing the ball around, especially towards the back end of the game. I thought they looked better once Reynolds went off the field.
Well, that was
that 10-minute period
absolutely.
where Walsh and Mam just went nuts.
Agree.
And I think it frees up Mam a little bit, to be honest. As you said, it gives him a bit more to do, a bit more to think about, and he actually starts to challenge the line and tries to create a little bit more for other players, and it definitely seemed to work. Walsh seemed to flow a little bit better with because Mam would either knew he was running or he was getting the ball, which is or Walsh was getting the ball, and they went nuts for 10 minutes. They got back to even, and it looked like they might have even put the pressure on and got back in front. But as you mentioned, it just absolutely snap in the snap of the fingers, and the Roosters put their physical pants on, and Collins and Hargraves really started digging into the middle of the field. Guzzi on an edge. Nat Butcher as well. I don't think he gets the raps that he deserves sometimes. Some of the physical stuff he does on the opposite edge to Crichton, really good. And they just put the game to bed real quickly.
What are you doing with the Broncos now without Reynolds? I know it's a fairly shallow pool in terms of top 4 contenders. So you think eventually they'll be right, as long as they've still got their forwards and Ezra and Walsh. They should still beat some of the geeks, but
you still think they're probably going to win 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
but they're probably going to lose those 2 extra games that you wouldn't expect them to.
And those Origin ones, they won't have someone to nurse him through without Carrigan and Haas and that sort of thing, and Walsh.
Yeah, correct, and it's a big stretch as well. So, I probably expect them to maybe drop an extra 3 or 4 games than they would have with Reynolds there. So that realistically for mine has them from being the edge of the 4 to the edge of the 8 by the time Reynolds gets back. So
I reckon that in their heart of hearts, if they sit down and say we can get through that 10 weeks and win 5, then finish top 6, and then you'd be right. Then you try and back yourselves to knock off a top 4.
Yep.
If you got to say Sharks almost can't miss one of those spots now.
Just got to obviously try and keep who they've got left fit for as long as possible. Origin's probably going to have a pretty big toll on them. So
well, you think even your Willisons and Piacoras will be in and about conversation.
Yes, your Carrigans. Cobbo's probably going to get picked. Stags is half a chance.
Yeah,
you're missing half a side on top of any injury tolls that you've got. So
very, very interesting month ahead for them.
I'm pretty sure they've got a couple of buys in and around there as well, which probably does help. But I thought Jensen, Ricky, and Smoothie were decent. Stags and Walsh were good without being fantastic. But it was Carrigan, Mam, and Haas that were the best players for the Broncos. Carrigan and Haas generally just don't miss. And Mam, I think the last 2 or 3 weeks he's probably been playing really good football, actually.
He's just taken, which was what made me think about what I was talking about earlier, but he's just taken him. He hasn't quite sat at the back and waited as he has at times. He's gone looking, and now I think he will even more so. And it suits him.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. You could mention pretty much the whole Roosters team, but I thought Egan Butcher, who's I'm not sure he's playing this week, but I thought he was good in limited minutes. So were Collins and Nafahu White. Young, Suwali, Manu were all very good on the edges there, causing problems. Hard, strong running. But it was those three guys that we've spoken about the most. It was Watson, it was Teddy, and it was Angus. They really broke this game apart.
Yep. 3 to Angus, 2 to Watson, 1 to Teddy. I could flip those second two, but I'm happy with that. My other multi-story I put on, and I was using, for various reasons, using Mariah's sports bet. So I put on a same-game multi. Manu, Young, Crichton, Watson. She had to check first, and she decided it was too many Roosters and changed Manu to Cobbo. So it only cost me about $9.5K.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. On that note, we'll move on to this next section. This heaps good. Just thinking, Barna, most people would, after my run of multis, would take it as a sign to give up. But yeah, I'm sure you know me too well.
No, can't give up.
I'm now determined.
One leg away, mate.
To prove the universe that the universe doesn't just completely hate me.
It's been the story of our disaster class for most of the season as well. Yeah, one leg away, but
I should start taking it seriously. Eh? Anyway, speaking of the universe hating me, 22-14, the Bulldogs defeated the Tigers.
That's a fucking lovely segue. 3 tries to 2. 3 out of 3 conversions played, 2 out of 2 for the Tigers. 2 out of 2 penalty attempts for the Dogs and 1 out of 1 for the Tigers. It was 14-6 at half time towards the Tigers. 89% completion, played 86%, 260 plus running meters for the Bulldogs, 4 line breaks apiece, 31 tackle busts, played 40, 7 offloads to 12, 1 forced dropout by the Dogs, 302 tackles, played 343, 6 errors to 8, 6 penalties conceded to 7, 1 ruck infringement to 2, 2 inside the 10 to 0. 2 sin bins to the Tigers. Buller with 76 Supercoach points, Burton with 73, Bateman with 70.
I thought about how I was going to talk about the officiating in this game for a while this weekend. Is there anything you want to discuss first? Or
No, mate. No.
Give me a sec. Yeah, I can sit there. Laptop just ran out of power, but it'll last me next 5 minutes. I was going to originally read out some thoughts off X. I was going to read off some social media commentary. I was going to do whatever. I'm just going to say this, and we'll move on quickly. I thought it was the worst officiated game of rugby league I've seen in as long as I can remember. I thought the combination, all of them in and around the field, were all embarrassingly poor. It made me want to stop watching the game. It made me furious. Made me want to stop watching rugby league. It made me quit this podcast. It made me want to never watch rugby league again at some stage in this game because it was that bad. I was that angry about it. And I was ready to go off. And then, of course, the next 24 hours, all the white knights have to come charging down the hill and say, oh, everyone's sexist and this is all this and that. And it's all. And I will say 99 out of 100 of the commentary I saw had no single mention of sex. I don't care. I have no interest in the sex of anyone, the colour, the race, the religion, anything else. If you do your job poorly, you should be expected to be criticised, and this was appalling. And all those people that wanted to spring up and defend her, at most, and I read and watched a lot of it, all they said was, "Oh, it was she's had better games." And if you're going to come out and do that, you're throwing all your credibility out the window straight away, or you didn't watch it. But it was, I struggle. I tried to generally think of a game as bad, and maybe Sin Bin Sunday for different reasons. But there was no just stupid shit along the way.
But that was the players taking shit way out of hand in that one. And the players didn't help themselves in this one either because it was a pretty patchy game, which obviously wasn't helped by the officiating. But there was, a couple of nice momentum swings and a couple of really nice touches of footy, but there were some long stretches of some pretty average football played.
There was.
And the frustration grew between both teams. Goals just, what was it? So, like, how many?
There was 6 out of 6 overturned challenges.
6 out of 7.
And the only reason it wasn't 7 out of 7 is because at the end of the game she said the Tigers had no challenges left, and they hadn't got one wrong. And I'm not going to mention another word about it now. But the NRL have now created this monster for themselves, because they've put someone not capable of doing the job there, and now they're going to continue to back her to the hilt, and the drums are going to get bigger.
They're forced to now. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. As a PR campaign, they have to.
yeah.
But you're right. There was some downright just completely wrong calls made, and a couple of them slipped through the cracks, and a lot of them were challenged, and yeah, it just turned a game that probably could have been a lot better than what it was into this, which
And we'll move on. And none of it has anything to do with the result. I'll say I would think that you've got to say Bulldogs are
the
the better
Tigers' second
team.
half was poor.
It's clearly in the second half, and that wasn't, while it crewed some chances, I don't think it ultimately changed the outcome. And from there, I'll move on.
No, fair enough. And yeah, good commentary around that. Yeah, it just felt like the team that was going to be able to hold pressure for longer was going to be the one that got away with this one. That was able to, continue to double down through the middle of the field and create chances on the edge. Tigers started really well. That, for mine, a lot of what's happening with the Tigers at the moment is Buller's floating in and out of games.
Yeah.
When he's in there and pushing into the line with Galvin and Caesar and taking and continually supporting his back rowers and his forwards, the team just runs a whole lot smoother. And then there's big stretches of games where he's not seen. I think that comes down to confidence with some of his defensive positioning as well. He said early in his career at the start, he looked like one of the most promising defensive fullbacks that I'd seen at the start of his career, and it's really gone to the wayside recently.
He did some nice work, stopping Fox. A couple of okay tackles.
Physically with tries on the line. But
I agree.
Kicking.
I hate to say this, but let's see how the rest of the year pans out. But I think serious thought would have to be given. I'm not sure. And I know we're talking about Taruva playing 8 minutes against a tired team that's running last.
Yeah. 100%.
But it has to be given to whether Taruva would add more at number one.
Like, he seems to be able to read the back line movements and the back rowers charging through a line and gets himself into a decent position to put his body in the way. But a lot of the his defensive work off kicks has got a lot left to be desired. He's generally a couple of meters either side of where he needs to be, and under the high ball, he seems to have the yips recently, which something
which from what he was last year is chalk and cheese.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not helping. Even though the Dogs were, a fair way behind at half time, it didn't feel that they were that far out of the game.
No.
They were still always, creating chances, putting the pressure on the Tigers. And again, with them, they seem to, their errors cruel a lot of their attack more than anything else. They get to positions where they force a ball, or they just throw a sloppy pass from one of the halves out and it ends up hitting the deck, and then everyone's scrambling to get on top of the ball. But I thought the Tigers defended pretty well for the majority of the second half, considering the amount of pressure that the Dogs did put down that side, especially with Kickow again running a mark down the side of the field, just pushing people away and bumping people off and providing offloads. But their energy levels dropped dramatically towards the back end of the game. Well, I think that's what ruled it.
Yeah, straight out of half time there, and they finished. It's like we talked about earlier. Bulldogs had all that ball for about 12 or 15 minutes, couldn't come with points. Straight away, Tigers struck back and then dominated for the next, but couldn't really capitalise. But then straight after half time, there was 20 minutes where Tigers couldn't go their own way. And the Bulldogs' line speed did improve. They came out and they just pinned them for 10. And then after that, I think it was almost like they just put their hands up and said, we don't quite know how we're going to get back in this game. They only did, I reckon, in the last, 6 or 7 minutes of the whole game. In that time.
It always seems to happen where teams get that, they've still got a sniff with 10 minutes to go and the ball starts zigging around the field from left to right, and people start chancing their hand with kicks and the likes, and it gets really close towards the back end of the game. But I thought they seemed pretty dominant by the end of the match, the Bulldogs, and they probably would be a bit disappointed they didn't kick away and win by a little bit more. the double sin binning at the end, that was just the the last rites written for the Tigers.
How do you, well, yeah. How, and apparently all Clemmer said was that wasn't a shoulder charge. Of all things that could have been said,
Really?
or allegedly said, that's
Okay.
all he said. How Marnie wasn't sin binned for, first of all, starting all the shit, but being the third man in. Apparently that rule doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, yeah.
He's been doing it for the last month
Well,
too.
someone needs to just knock him out. Is the answer?
I saw a few of those comments floating around. Yeah, the double sin binning at the end really wiped out any chances that the Tigers had, and Seyfarth was pretty bad. I know he only played 15 minutes, but fuck, he added fuck all in this game. Season, Aiden, Twile, we're all decent. Galvin, yeah, he's something. He really, I'd love to see him off a really dominant forward performance from the Tigers, because I think he would just absolutely run amok and cause so many problems. But the Tigers are yet to really.
Well, realistically, they should.
Players
they
there
should.
that can...
Like they had. Look, I love David Clemmer, and he doesn't miss tackles. He gets rid of, but he's starting to fall into that. What I've talked about with Parramatta. He's just starting to feel like an old front rower now.
Mm-hmm.
And
those last 2 or 3 steps before he hits the line just aren't what they used to be.
Yeah, and Pole look good, but you're right. There's just, for an on-paper pack, I like Fainu. I think he looked a bit nervous off the back of last week when he looked better.
Yep.
But, yeah, like if it's me, I'm trying to get Angus Crichton on the phone and give him $1 million and come over and just look after an edge for us. But
absolutely.
And Bateman in the middle while he gets right work. I think he's better on an edge, and he's back there.
Well, they've gone
week.
that way this week.
Yeah, they've gone
Papa Lee in the middle, which I do like.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to that in due course. Although Stefano was decent again, as Bateman had another good game, as well as the running battle he had with the referee. I don't think he's captain material. I know he's a leader, and you know, like,
you can be leaders.
Leader.
You can be leaders without
not
having to be the guy that goes, especially when.
And obviously, Appy comes back, and it's a whole different story.
And I'm sure, to be honest, Miss Badger probably couldn't understand a word he was saying half the time. So,
but I don't even think he should be your second, third, fourth choice captain.
But when you got, they have the youngest team in. I think it's them and the Broncos have the youngest team squad in the comp by a mile.
Who's the next bloke you're pinning your hopes on?
For
Give
what,
it to
captain?
the kid.
Oh, I guess Stefano, I suppose.
Galvin, Stefano. Just give it to him.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
Because Bateman is just a lunatic, and you can't have a lunatic represent you.
But then you've got to have an 18-year-old tell him to pull his head in.
Yeah, well, why not? Probably good for Stefano or for Galvin, especially a playmaker. But well, Simpkins had a pretty decent game. Obviously, Appy coming back will probably push him out of the team. And Buller was one of their best, but obviously, had some issues as well. Max King got through a whole heap of work again. So did Salmon and Hughes. They were good in the middle of the field. Kurt Mann, I like what he does, but the bloke's dead set one of the biggest ball hogs in the game. Like, I know he's got to try, but he really needs to let the ball go occasionally instead of just trying to take on the line every time he touches it. Curran, Karaz, and Zeri were also very good in this game, I thought. But it was Burton, it was Kikau, and they were the two standouts. You got to give Reed his props. He gets through his work, does plenty of work, but he was good. But it was Burton and Kikau.
Yeah, I don't want to just turn one of those. We're pretty good at doing like these reviews where we just give 3 points to someone and don't really talk about them. I guess we assume they are good, but Matt Burton was fantastic. He chose to run first a lot more here, and he was almost happy to play a pair wider and play as a wide-running centre at times and looked real dangerous, I thought, and just opened up more opportunities, and then he'd drift back over and he might go do that on the right and drift back over and find Kikau on the left and opened up some opportunities. I thought Taff was good.
A pretty solid defensive half as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Considering when you line him up with a lot of the others.
It's quite an interesting point, and I know I asked you for yours. We're going to hold it to next week because I want to put up some social media about it. Origin 5'8". I guess he has to now be in a discussion on the back of the last month.
Absolutely, he does.
So But I'll put up a post. You leave your thoughts in the comments below on YouTube if you're watching there. Pick your Origin third at 17. In fact, for both states, one or either.
He would absolutely need a script to read off. I wouldn't be sending him in there and just go and play your own game. It'd be you're doing this, you're doing, it's either run first or you're hitting your back rowers and kicking bombs.
It would be don't kick unless you have to. And then in the 28th minute when we tell you to kick it as high as you can, then that's your cue.
I think there'd be a lot of structure you need to put around him.
Yeah.
I think they default to Luai at the moment, to be honest.
Okay. Nicho 14, McGuinness 14.
There's three of them.
Yeah, we'll save it for next week. We'll save it for next week. Yeah.
It's Nicho, Burton, and Luai for mine.
Okay.
Unless old mate comes back.
Moses
comes back and sets the world on fire, but.
You struggle to do that, don't you, in your Parramatta at the moment? But he's had a very good month, Matthew Burton. We were very critical. We always have been. But I think he's finding the right balance between, given how quick he is as well, between his running and not running and kicking game's been a bit smarter. It amused me at times there when they would have the wingers feed the scrum for the Bulldogs, just have Drew Hutchison stand the back line and do nothing. It was odd, but okay. He's still half a handbrake.
He had about 2 runs, I think.
Yeah, well done. And no Connor Tracy this week either, but gosh sake. Play Blake Taff at 7 and Connor Tracy at 1. Do something.
Well, I'm pretty sure Tracy's on the extended bench, so don't be surprised if you do see him parachuted in. But, the combination with Kikau is massive for the Bulldogs at the moment. And those two, whenever the Bulldogs are on top and running, it's Kikau and it's Burton.
Yep, and they're going to get 3 for Burton, 2 for Kikau. Are you flipping them?
I had them the other way around.
Okay,
I just thought that Kikau was so destructive at the most important points of this game, and
he's now reached that point where if you're an opposition fan, you're clenching every time he touches the ball.
You don't want it to go that way.
No.
Someone come out and put a shot at him before
2 blokes are going to fall off, or
just tackle him before he gets the ball.
Step someone or push someone. He's playing as good a football almost as he ever has, probably since 21, I'd say.
Absolutely, as these last 3 weeks have been phenomenal, and I thought he was the game breaker, to be honest. But
happy with that.
The one that got him around the field, got him into the right spots, and did provide opportunities for Kikau. And then I had either Buller or Bateman for the one, as because I thought they were critical at the start when the Tigers were actually on a roll. But
it's a tricky one. The other one actually, so I nearly thought I'd give him a point to, but he's just a bit off. But I really like what Brent Naden brings to the Tigers' backs. He's got pace. He's stronger now. He's got a bit of mongrel in him. He can kick. So he's a good addition now. He's back. That all being said, I had actually Pole or Buller. Go Buller. I guess we both got him.
Buller. Yeah.
Then we got to. I did manage to watch most of these replays. 22. I had cricket presentation. I did win Bowler of the Year, David. 22-20.
Senior Bowler of the Year as well.
Yeah, I couldn't pick up the junior one, unfortunately. 22 Storm, 20 to Titans. And you know what? Belinda Sharp officiated this game, and I had no problem at all. Maybe one forward pass. I had no issue at all with her. It's almost like she's good at her job. The bunker, however, we'll get to. But the stats you can go with first.
3 tries to the Titans, 4 for the Storm. 3 out of 3 conversions for the Titans, 2 out of 4 for Melbourne. 1 out of 2 penalty attempts for both teams. It was 20 to 12 at halftime with the Storm leading. 80% completion for the Titans, 77% for Melbourne. 6 line breaks to 4, 42 tackle busts for the Titans, 19 for the Storm. 9 offloads to 10, 1 forced dropout from both teams, 298 tackles, played 294. 9 errors to 10, 7 penalties conceded by the Titans, 4 by the Melbourne team. 1 ruck infringement apiece, 1 inside the 10 for the Titans, 3 against the Storm. AJ Brimson with 104 Supercoach points, David Fafita with 84, Sammy with 78, and then Pappenhausen with 73. And it probably would have been 150 if he didn't go off at half time.
He looked like he was about to just really open up.
And I would have beaten Greg. Goddamn Greg. Goddamn you, Greg. Anyway.
If he gets 150 Supercoach points here, he almost gets picked at 14 for New South Wales, I reckon.
100%. Yeah.
unfortunately.
He's been building and building over the last month.
You just see, and he came out and said, whenever it was 3 weeks ago, he said, "I'm finally running the way I used to," and that
pace,
sort of thing.
yeah.
And I was heartbroken because he's pushing up towards Guzzy territory. He's one of my favourite players at the moment. So hope he's back.
It's a weird mixture of Melbourne being very good and very poor in the same game.
Well, it just felt like a gap job. What, half hour in, you're just going, they'll just win by 40 and it won't matter. They'll just, Munster popping around, Pappy popping around, Fa'alongo just for good measure.
A lot of it was Pappy. Like Pappy was just constantly getting into the line, getting hands on the ball and taking players with him. And he was dominating the speed of the way the ball was being played. Like he was the one that was getting into the line and taking it at pace, and blokes were following him. And once the injury came, their attack fell to pieces, realistically. But Titans started slow, but the whole team, but they just kept getting stronger and stronger the longer the game went, I thought. Obviously decently fit side, because I thought by the back end of the game they were going much better than the Storm.
I don't know
probably
how they did.
Should have snuck away with it.
How didn't they win?
They don't have the creative opportunities in their halves. Let's be honest. Like Foran's been a fantastic player, but he's a shadow of what he used to be.
He still tried. He's got very
moments in it. He's still got very good moments in him, and tries very hard. Tanner Boyd got injured, I'm pretty sure, in this game and was off for a big part of it. AJ can only do so much, and so can David Fafita. So they just need a little bit more. Some of these young forwards that they've got coming through, if they could develop an offload or a pass at the line, they might be able to create
a couple
of
them are just starting to get into some proper work. Like Jolliffe made 40 tackles. Haas is okay. Yeah, recently. Like they're just starting to get in some. They get Mo back this week. Just starting to get into some work.
Yeah. The injury, as I said, seemed to take all the sparkle out of Melbourne's attack, and they lost a lot of energy when he was taken out. Disallowed try to begin with for Katoa. Why was that disallowed? I can't even remember why that was disallowed.
Obstruction, was it?
I don't remember. Yeah, I remember I didn't like it.
It was someone in the line doing something. And
I know I had money on it, but Hughes went through pretty much on his own bat and then put a nice little kick in for Katoa, and they scored.
It was someone bumped. I can't even fucking remember. There was a few. The other one that shat me was in the Warriors game. I think it was. We'll get to that. Like, there's just some shit. I'm just like, I'm sick of the obstruction rule. I'm sick of, apparently, like, the outside-inside shoulder doesn't exist anymore. It's just like you just run into someone, you sweep.
That's right.
It was in a Newcastle game where someone ran straight into Hastings. Hastings just decided he was going to tackle Jackson Ford.
Yeah, just pushed his chest into him.
And then they stopped the trial. I don't know why I bother sometimes.
Anyway, that allowed Foran to obviously open the scoring. Really nice, tough run off him, actually. He's never been afraid of contact, and he went into that line really hard and got through it. And
he doesn't want to try these days either, actually.
He has been scoring a few recently. And I thought the Storm had to work pretty hard to break down the Titans, actually. The defence was better than it has been recently outside in the outside backs. But, some lovely passing off Pappy and footwork. And what about Fa'alongo's try off the scrum play? He just jumped the 2 meters in the air and went, "I'm going to run around you now, and you're not even going to get anywhere near me." Right foot step, goosey on the way through, and just left him standing there looking at him.
He left the field with a niggle, but I hope he's sweet to play this week. I know he's in some doubt. I hope he does get a proper crack. I know missing Pappy.
Apparently, he's in a lot of doubt, and Hughes has been ruled out as well.
Yeah, no Hughes,
which is not great, but and about 5 minutes later, Pappy goes off the field, and the halves seem to really lose control of the game. Like Hughes was still going through the motions, getting them into the right positions, but the balls when they're coming out from Grant really seemed to stop at Munster and Hughes. It was either a kick option to an edge or a try for a cutout ball, and a lot of them weren't hitting the mark. They're sort of going behind people, or they were really slow, and the defense was up in their face. And that probably has a bit to do with the Titans' energy. I thought they put a lot of energy into this match, and their defensive line speed was pretty good. AJ Brimson running like a back rower and just bumping people off on his way to score a try.
Excuse the pun, but AJ was phenomenal in this game. He was outstanding.
For one of the smaller blokes in the comp, like the way he took that ball into the line.
Another Queenslander with Origin looming.
Yeah, and there was two of them. Like Foran did the same thing to score the first try. Like, it was just fantastic. And then there's 3 or 4 times where he just exploded through the line, like that first 10, 15 metres of pace and some footwork, and just left people standing there with their jaw open.
A couple off his own line where he just tucked it under, and there was a couple out wide where he just owned them. He was everywhere in this game. He popped up through the middle when he had to. I thought he was the best player in the field. I thought he was brilliant. I thought both their other outside backs were very good too, Kelly and Sammy. Sammy.
And I thought they were pretty unlucky not to score a couple more tries.
They should have won this game. They should have won this game, and I don't know how much that is. As I said earlier, the Melbourne goal on defence being great, and it didn't feel great in this game, but they did hold them out for half an hour. But another day, Titans win this by 20. It just didn't happen. I think there's still an issue with Will Warbrick out wide there. He's not 100%.
Oh, absolutely, there is.
He's not 100% out under the high ball, and him
and Meaney don't really seem to communicate very well either.
I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. It's something. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It becomes quite noticeable.
Well, Meaney's pretty good on his inside shoulder, but on his outside shoulder and is questionable. And if they get them to jam close enough in field, there's just too much space between him and Warbrick. So unless you've got someone wrapping around, which is generally Pappy, to try and push someone over a sideline, they are getting exposed out there more often than they should. Again, they were on the right side of the stat sheet for the majority of the stats, and really took it to Melbourne in a game that they probably should have won. But it's just that ball. There's not enough ball playing in the middle of the field for the Titans. Realistically, the best thing you could probably do is put Fafita at 13 and get him to ball play and let him roam to an edge when he wants to and try to barge over for points. But at least you got an offload out of him, which you're not seeing.
They did lose Tanner Boyd early on, but I know he hasn't been that guy either. They probably get a better kicking game because Randall played a lot of half here essentially.
Yeah. AJ came in and took a little bit of it, but
in a year's time,
I think Campbell's not far away.
Yeah, I think he should.
If he comes back and plays one, they should sack.
He's got to come back and play 7 or 6.
Yeah, he's got to come back and play 6.
Yep.
Realistically,
yep.
But
agree.
As you mentioned, Kelly was good. I thought Fermor and Randall had some decent touches. Verrills had one of his better games for a while. You mentioned Jolliffe was very good. AJ and Fafita were fantastic, and they were a big part of the reason they got as close as they did. Welch had a good game. He's
had a good season.
Yeah, he's
working back into it.
I know he's getting on a little bit, but I really think they need to be pushing him back up near the hour mark where he used to play.
Well, it's funny because they're actually using him. They're actually using him in the way other clubs should be using, say, RCG or Clemmer, or
yes, correct.
They're using him more sparingly, whereas and getting results.
Katoa was decent. I thought Blore had another very, very good game. He's really becoming a hard to handle back rower out there. Munster was very good as well, but it was Pappenhausen. He was the difference. Like he was absolutely flying, and if he didn't get injured earlier, his stats would have been through the roof. Grant was great as well, but he did play the 80 minutes obviously. So
I'm giving AJ 3. I'm happy to give Pappy 2. In sympathy almost, but and then I had Sammy for Fafita or 4 and for 1. So.
I had AJ for Fafita, and then I had either Grant or Pappy for 1. And obviously Pappy was missing for 40 minutes, but he did almost win him the game while he was out there.
We'll go for Fafita 2 and Pappy for 1. 28-26, the Dolphins, who I did tip as a bet of the round, and you got to say it was never in doubt here, Barn. So you got to say that. What the hell was this game? Cowboys just decided they're going to play like it was the last 10 minutes in the first 3 minutes. But after that, you can do some stats and tell us what you thought.
Me and a mate at work have decided that we're going to put $20 a week on a game, and it was his first week.
And he went
his
Cowboys?
Pick. He went Dolphins at $3.10.
Ah, good man.
Happy days. We had $20 on the Dolphins at $3.10.
Now there's almost like something to be said for smart betting. I know people don't like it, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
But if you, to my multi earlier, if I'd just taken a $9 Connor Watson anytime and a $6 Angus Crichton anytime,
yes,
I'd be a happy man. And you throw this in.
I did take both of those, but I did put on way too many multis over the weekend as well. So.
Yeah, I know.
I did have Angus anytime and Connor Watson anytime. They were good bets for me. But
please remember, chances are you're about to lose.
5 tries apiece, 3 out of 5 conversions for the Cowboys, 4 out of 5 for the Dolphins. A missed 2-point field goal attempt for the Cowboys, 22-18 at halftime to the Cowboys. 78% completion played 87%, 180 plus running meters and 120 plus post-contact meters for the Cowboys. 7 line breaks to 5, 32 tackle busts played 31, 13 offloads to 8, 2 40-20s kicked by the Cowboys, 348 tackles played 335, 13 errors to 10, 3 penalties conceded to 5, 4 ruck infringements to 2. 1 inside the 10 for both teams. Asako with 137 Supercoach points, Nicho with 102, Cotter with 99.
Yeah, well, as I said, the Cowboys just came out and decided they're going to throw the ball around from the first tackle of the game, and off they went. What would you make of this first half? It was an odd game at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the Cowboys were ahead on most of the stats again. Weird one. Second tackle of the game, Holmes runs 40 meters and then just sets up a completely hot start for the Cowboys with field position. As you mentioned, they threw the ball around plenty early, had the Dolphins on the back foot. They kick a 40-20 and it's 10-0 after 7 minutes of the game. Very good 40-20 as well, off the back of what they did early in this game. Cotter just dragged 3 defenders with him on the way over the line. They got back into the arm wrestle. Like the Dolphins never thought they were out of it. Obviously, their forwards. I think Kafusi put about 5 or 6 different shots on in this game where he absolutely axed blokes through the middle of the field, which really did stop the Cowboys' momentum a couple of times. Katoa and Nicho are building a really nice combo. I like what they're doing. Katoa's playing slow, controlled football in the middle of the field with a really nice kicking game. And then when it's time to go, he just grabs it and flicks it straight to Cody and tries to get him on the outside of somebody. He's got good acceleration. Cody Nicho played some of the best footy I've ever seen him play. Mm-hmm. The way he's getting at defenders and then
he always manages to draw 2 in. He always
that's the thing. I was just about to mention. He gets within arm's reach and then just goes, "Nah, fuck you! I'm putting a step on. I'm either coming inside or outside, and then you're going to have to chase me, and then the bloke on your inside or the bloke on your outside is going to have to chase me too," and it frees up a man. They've instantly got an overlap because he's put the acceleration on with a bit of footwork at the line, and then you got 2 blokes chasing the one, and a couple of times he went through on his own as well, but he's playing some good football at the moment. There was he created like 3 tries on his own just through some of his passing and that acceleration that I mentioned. 3 lovely tries.
It's no coincidence, as I talked about at the time. Their worst game was when he got shunted to fullback.
Yes,
he's so much better in the line. Injury. Yeah, so much better in line.
They got 3 lovely tries, and then right on halftime, a little grubber from the Cowboys, and again, that was probably a pretty lucky try. Katoa was all over the ball, tried to slide into it and just take it into the in goal, and it bounces up off his shoulder, and then the second row was there to put the ball down. We saw a bit of that over the weekend, actually, where there's a few tries just created out of nothing. But yeah, Nicho was brilliant. He had his fingerprints on pretty much every point that was created from the Dolphins. Cowboys had 2 tries directly off errors, like I mentioned, which probably flattered them a little bit. The Dolphins really bunkered down in the second half, as I mentioned earlier, and they were putting shots on in defence. They were getting really physical through the middle of the field. The Bromwich boys, you throw in Plath, who's just he just loves the physicality.
He's Ray Stone with his whole body still attached.
Yeah, and Stone's actually been quite good recently too. Physical through the middle.
And I've thrown out the halfback started Katoa as well. You mentioned you wrapped him earlier, but
got some good
he can defend. But he saved a try, and he's put someone else on his ass.
Snapped a couple of legs. Yeah.
And
I think he snapped Angus a couple of weeks ago too.
Yeah. He's a big body. He's just breakout season for Katoa.
Yeah, absolutely. His kicking game's gone to another level. I really like the way he's able to slow the game down when it's needed as well. The Dolphins do get a bit frantic at times, and they start to sort of sling the ball around, and he'll slow play it through the middle and just bring his back rowers onto the ball and slow it down for a play or two, and then obviously they hit Nicho Hynes again and get it going again out wide. But Sarko had a fantastic game again. His kicking's gone off a little bit this year, which is unusual for him. But
how about Valley? He's not very clutch these days, is he, Valentine?
He's some reason he's gone from being around the corner kicker to trying to swing him back in.
Yeah,
the opposite direction.
I don't know what the trend is, but it feels like half the comp now tries to do that fade, like kick inside out or however they do it.
Whereas so many of them just kick around the corner and just nail it so often. But the Cowboys, I thought their attack looked really confused at times. Again, I thought the young halfback played quite well for the first probably 40 or 50 minutes. Clifford, sorry, I thought he was going really well. His kicking game was quite good, and then when the pressure started coming with the physicality through the middle, he sort of disappeared a lot. Drinkwater was getting put on his back and not being able to provide the opportunities out wide. But a game that Dolphins probably should have won by more at the back end of the game, realistically. If the Cowboys didn't get off to such a good start, it could have been completely different.
The Cowboys back row both looked good. Nano, again, building towards Origin. And Finifanaki keeps performing.
And as you mentioned, the clutch master missed a kick to go to Golden Point. He was good with his ball in hands, but his defense is getting worse. The longer he used to be one of the best defensive outside backs going around, especially when he was on the wing.
You know what he never recovered from?
Even when he started in the centres, he was okay.
He never recovered from that Stafford Toa drubbing.
It's almost 12 months ago now.
It actually probably is, yeah.
So, his defence is questionable. I thought McKaylee had a good impact. So did Griffin Neame, apart from a couple of errors there. He made a couple of bullfed errors, actually. Dean Drinkwater were very good. Robson and I were great. And Cotter was their best player by a mile. He just worked so hard through the middle of the field. Fuller had a mixed night. Good occasionally with ball in hand.
Found some dropsies.
But found some dropsies. Nichols, Katoa, and Plath were all good in the middle of the field.
If anyone to send me some grog, I've found some.
He's out.
Now
he's gone.
Hit us up, socials.
Jeremy Marshall-King did pretty well, but seems to be getting targeted a lot these days, and it's taken away a bit from him getting out of dummy half.
He's funny because I think that's it. They're just targeting. I think because he's gone from being the number one point of attack almost to. And I guess maybe it's the growth of the halves and whatever else, but and you look through Supercoach spectrums and that sort of thing, he's not really. He had his shoulder injury last year, and he's not running this year, really.
Ewan Aiken, someone you mentioned last week, I thought he had a fantastic game in this one. But yeah, the big three for mine were Avarillo, who was. He is so deceptively quick over 15, 20 metres. Like, to get that try in behind the three of them that should have really got the ball before he got anywhere near it.
He's also he's always had that. He's also bigger than I think you realise, or than people realise. He's just big and strong physical. As well. Yeah.
Isako and Nicho Hynes. Right?
Yeah, I had 3 to Nicho Hynes.
Absolutely.
2 to Isako. 1, 2. Who did I have 1 to? Oh, Cotter or Avarillo.
I had
actually.
Cotter or Avarillo.
Gosh, that's awkward. Actually,
I
had drink
thought
water.
Cotter probably just worked his way into the 1 point for mine.
Yeah, all right. That's fine. Right, in the break, I've managed to find my West Tigers gin. But it's not open. Does gin depreciate or appreciate?
I have no idea.
Me neither. I'm not going to open. I'm going to save this for a special occasion. There you go. Not sure what that is. Probably the Tigers winning another game. I'll crack it open. Still something worthwhile. Anyway. Glad everyone's worried about that. Sunday kicked off. I found some pretty parrot gin instead, which I've mixed in. And everyone's worried about how drunk I get in these shows. All right, Sunday we had wet weather footy was definitely in play for these couple of Sydney games. Let us know in the comments below, by the way, if this gin's worth anything. I assume it's expensive. Anyway, that is far more interesting than 14-8, the Knights over the Warriors. And as I was just telling Barney, I managed to watch the replay, didn't sink in, and I went back and watched when I was doing my notes, the 15, whatever it is, the mini, 13-minute, and it was a 13-minute mini, and you know it's a bludger when the first 3 minutes, 54 seconds is just Vossi and Blocker talking in the preview. So, anyway, this did happen, and 14-8 was a score. Barn, what did the stats say? And tell me if I'm wrong, by the way. Maybe it was just a thrill.
No, you're right. 2 tries to 1. 2 out of 2 conversions played, 1 out of 1, 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for both teams. 8-6 at halftime to Newcastle, 81% completion paid, 80% for the Warriors. 281 running meters and 81 plus post contact meters for the Warriors. 3 line breaks to 1, 37 tackle bust, played 25, 3 offloads to 6, 3 forced dropouts from both teams. 376 tackles played, 374, 9 errors to 8, 9 penalties conceded by Newcastle, 10 by the Warriors. 2 ruck infringements to 1, 1 inside the 10 to 2. Walker with 73 Supercoach points, Harris with 70, and Hastings with 69.
Yeah, what'd you make of this?
I mean, pretty tough conditions to get your attack going. And that with 2 teams that are struggling to get their attack to click on the best of conditions, and then you throw them into this kind of slop. And the attack was pretty rubbish for a big part of the game. Pretty hard to watch at times. A lot of sloppy stuff in the tackle as well. Just blokes laying on way too long. Arms being twisted up people's backs, legs being turned over, people holding people in the tackle. That in those kind of conditions, you really want to get off quicker. I think it adds to the fatigue, and if better team, if you're backing yourself in your physicality and your fitness, then you probably want to let them get up and play the ball rather than trying to slow it down too much. But you get this, which was pretty rough. The ruck slowed down to a standstill at different times in this game. Just no pace through the middle of the field. The Warriors just didn't seem to know how to get their attack together. They haven't done for a few weeks, and this one they went to the.
It's still exactly the same as it has been.
Yeah, they went to the edges a little more than they have done in the last week or two. But when they were going to the edges, they weren't going forward. No. And when they were going forward, they weren't going to their edges. So it just they counteracted anything that they were trying to do. Again, it was a lot of kick and hope from the halves out to Dallin.
It's always kick to the wing, generally Dallin. Yeah. Even Dallin. that Walker try was still the same play. It just happened Tohu hit the right man on the inside at the right time.
Correct. Yep. Walker was a big difference. He looked close to the best player on the field, to be honest. When he came on, he had a big impact. He was running harder than just about anybody else out there, but trying to put a bit of footwork and ball playing on, and did some stuff through the middle. But yeah, it was either constant shifts to an edge with no go forward or go forward and no shifts to the edge for the Warriors. Newcastle seemed to be happy to get into the grind and worked a little bit harder than the Warriors did, more so on the edges of the ruck than through the middle. Like the Warriors were pretty dominant in the middle, but it was slow. It was predictable, and you could say that from both teams realistically. But the Knights seemed to have a better consistency to their style of play, where they they were actually putting a few blokes in the likes of Lucas and the other back rower onto outside shoulders and being able to sort of nose their way through the line and get forward a little KPP and be able to, but at least look like they were creating a few more opportunities than what the Warriors were. But yeah, it was ugly. It was an ugly game of footy.
I don't even know what to take from this. They both just played the way. What do you make of Armstrong? Like, statistically, not a blow-away game. He didn't do much wrong. He had a couple of kicks and stuff, but he just... I guess it's a tricky... It was never the conditions for him to dominate, but...
His positioning was okay. He's definitely someone that they need to be on the front foot for him to have a real impact. Getting into positions with a bit of pace on the outside of other players, and it was absolutely teeming down at times in this game, and blokes didn't look like they could get out of a jog for a big part of the game. So it was really... The Warriors probably went through the right style of trying to win the game with their big guys through the middle of the field, but they don't seem to have the explosiveness that they used to have.
No.
Like, Vanua Blake still, works pretty hard and does look like he's going to break tackles here and there, but Ford's not getting put in the right position on the left-hand side now with Martin there. He's not getting him on in the right... Like, he's still running the right lines, but...
He's just not
getting the ball at the right time. He's not, Martin's not taking him to the line. You switch over to the other side, and Johnson just seems happy to kick at the moment. He's not digging into the line the way he was in the first 3-4 weeks of the season, and it's so stagnant from the Warriors. They're much better. Well, they should be a much better team than what they read on the better team on paper than what they're putting out on the field at the moment. You have to give Newcastle their props. They were gritty. They were tough. Hastings got in there and probably showed them how they needed to play. Getting guys in the right positions on those running lines. Gamble was a grub and got in there and did some nasty stuff like he likes to do. But the edge defense for the Warriors was a big question mark in this one again, and it's starting to get back to
22.
Berry and Pompey, like they're exposing Berry quite a bit in defense recently, and Tuivasa-Sheck's not immune from it at the moment either. It's more him having to do other people's work. Like Montoya's not helping him on the outside, but there's big question marks around the edge defense for the Warriors at the moment, as well as their attacks just non-existent the last couple of weeks.
And then another one, Chance managed to miss a couple of grubbers, dropped a bomb that both led to points. Two of them led to points, two of the three.
Yep.
End of the day, as I said earlier, I thought that try, the last Warriors try, was a try. Again, Dallin got tackled in the air, which given a penalty.
That should have been a penalty try. I don't know how that's not a penalty try.
Well, it's happened earlier in the year where they just,
well, the ref turned around and goes, "We don't give penalty tries for that." Well, the bloke's been tackled in midair in a score, like he's over the line with the ball in his hands.
Actually,
the definition of a penalty try. I feel like
it was Dallin that was disallowed a month ago. Someone else was disallowed in the same thing, and like there was no doubt he was going to score.
If he doesn't make contact with him, he just falls on the ground with the ball in his hands. Like
that's right.
How it's not.
Actually, and it's hard to say, but it's funny sitting here drinking gin and watching in slow motion. But if Dallin doesn't panic and just comes down, he probably scores anyway. But he tried to. Like he tried to put.
Guys now put his legs up above. Where his head is.
I know. It should have been. It should have been a penalty try, and they should have scored the other try. And then if they win, we're sitting here going, "What a shit game!" But at least they won.
He was probably trying to get his arms into a position so he didn't break his neck when he hit the ground. But
I know.
Neither team won any points out of this. If anything, the Warriors went backwards. In the opinion of a lot of people after this game, and Newcastle toughed it out realistically.
Dylan Lucas, you mentioned him earlier, putting together a nice body of work now. He's
absolutely. He was fantastic last year. Hit the scene running. Looks like a really strong edge edge back rower / centre. Like you could possibly be put into that position too if needed. Yeah, good fend, good leg speed, and pretty physical. So,
How are you giving out points here? Because I'll accede to your opinion.
I thought Chance and Montoya were okay. Egan and Harris were very good, which is not unusual.
Shock.
Walker, Sean Johnson were their best attacking options, but Fanua Blake was close to their best player again. Hastings was Newcastle's best, as I mentioned before. He just got them in the right positions and was getting guys to hit the lead lines and in wet conditions, and they're always hard to stop. So I had Hastings man of the match. I had Walker with the 2 points, and then I had either Fanua Blake or Pierce Paul for the 1.
Go Pierce Paul. Go Pierce Paul. I saw some commentary around about thinking about Dylan Walker, New South Wales 14. They could do worse.
One of the best impactful 14s at the moment coming on.
Exactly. Can play dummy half. Can cover a back row. Can cover halves if he really has to.
Play centre if needed.
I assume that that list is longer than half a dozen for that 14 spot, but worth mentioning.
Well, now Murray's out, it probably does give another opening. Depends if they want to play the 2 hooker role or if they're going to go with an 80-minute hooker.
I feel like Cam McGuinness has a bit of an inside run because he can play hooker
and probably a stronger defender. But
yeah,
realistically, Walker's been one of the best 14s for probably close to a 12-month period. He was fantastic at the back end of last year for the Warriors, and when he's been on the field, he's been a big influence for the Warriors this year as well. Obviously been in and out with a bit of injury, but yeah, I don't hate it. I'd probably go somewhere else, but I wouldn't hate it if they picked him.
Warriors missed the 8 now, and if it
looking
wasn't
more and more likely,
if it was sort of slow to dawn on people. Why I was saying that now is for the teams that are going to make it there, they need to bank the points against the bottom 4 teams.
And they had that run,
and they just had their run, and they missed every shot. They missed against Manly, missed against the Dragons, missed against the Titans, missed against the Knights. And I reckon at the start of the year they would have penciled in 6 points then.
Yeah, Knights might have been a 50-50 considering the way they finished last year, but yeah,
especially because in the next 5 weeks, they've got the Roosters, the Panthers, the Dolphins, the Storm. So you're not banking a heap of points out of them the way they're playing.
No, you're happy if you get one, realistically.
The other game is the Cowboys. But, it's now. They're now chasing their tail, I think.
It's interesting how bad that attack's fallen off a cliff. Over the last 2.5-3 weeks.
It's just dawned on me 2 weeks ago where you just sit there and you can call almost to the player who's going to do what for 45 minutes of this game.
And it was 80 minutes of last week.
80 minutes last week, and then it was the same here. And then you know straight away as soon as Johnson turns his foot out, he's going to kick to DWZ on the last. So,
but that's the thing. Like you look at the Sharks and Penrith, they're the same.
Mm.
You can pretty much a set of 6 pick out exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah,
they're
just better at it.
You know, they're a lot more consistent. They're a bit more explosive. Like you got blokes that are just running harder, they're tackling harder.
That's true.
Blokes a little bit more, a bit more footwork.
That's true. I mean, Taruva's
but they do have that one extra. There's probably one play out of that set of 6 where you go, "Holy fuck." What was that?
And also 3 other. There's players in that Panthers team which can come up with something themselves.
Yeah,
you still 100%. Don't quite. If you still lay off Tungo, he's going to beat you anyway. Or if you lay off Luai,
but the Warriors were that team 6 months ago.
Yeah.
The back end of last year, the Warriors were that.
Sorry,
strange one.
That dog just came over to drop his guts and go inside. Anyway,
even the dog hates you. Sharks 20, Dragons 10.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations to the 9,500 people that went out there and sat in the Saturday
Yeah,
rain.
well done for the fucking putting up with that. Jesus. Field dried out pretty quick in a couple of hours.
From what we saw in the
considering
morning,
it was underwater.
absolutely.
3 tries
They
to
must have
2,
just
3
left
out
the
of
plug
3.
in overnight.
3 tries to 2, 3 out of 3 conversions played, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Sharks. 6-10 at half time to the Dragons. 83% completion played, 75%. 144 plus running meters for the Sharks, 7 line breaks to 4, 37 tackle busts to 33. 8 offloads from both teams, 1 forced dropout from the Dragons. 389 tackles played, 409. 10 errors to 14. 6 penalties conceded to 8. 5 ruck infringements to 6. Ravalawa with 107 Supercoach points. Hynes with 97. Eisenhuth with 79. Another game where the weather caused it to become a fairly tough slog at times. There's probably a little bit more discipline from both of these teams, which let the middle flow a little bit better than the previous game. The attack did break down a lot, especially when the ball got out wider than the second rowers. Sharks probably adapted a little bit quicker than the Dragons, to be honest. Or not quicker, but more consistently. The Dragons scored a couple of points early and had the lead at half time, but it was all through Ben Hunt and Ravalawa realistically on that edge, and they caught Mulatalo napping once, and then it wasn't so much him that they slid in way too far the first time, and then they just sat back the second time, and you can't sit back when Ravalawa was running at you from 2 meters out. They were never going to stop him on that second occasion. But then, the Sharks were able to control the ball for long enough, put on enough pressure back through the middle of the field, and really use their forwards to their advantage, which is not something we've said about Cronulla that much this year. With Wilton missing, their left edge was a little bit soft, but they went to the right. They went to Nakora. They went to Hazelton. They went to McGuinness through the middle of the field, and came away with a win, a gritty win. I think they've changed their style of attack this year to try to suit more taking on these better teams, being able to get down into the grind and be physical in the middle of the field and walk away with a win like this, where Dragons were coming at them. They were in front at half time, and they just went back to the simple game plan of being physical in the middle of the field and just moving the middles around from the Dragons and wearing them out. And by the end of the game, they could have won by a lot more if they decided to spread the ball, but they just continued to go through the middle of the field and build pressure. But yeah, as I mentioned, they moved quickly early for Rava to score both times out there. Dragons didn't really help themselves. Their big middles did tire pretty quickly, in the likes of DeBell and Silva had very good games, but they did, after about 15 minutes, they did tire in the conditions, and they probably left them out a little bit longer than they should have. Both teams defended pretty well on their line. There was a lot of times where they were both sort of camped down each other's end for a long time. It didn't really help that the ball couldn't, when you were trying to spread the ball, it was getting stuck out in the edges, and it was really sloppy out there. Nobody could really get their footwork, and the ball was hitting chests and bouncing off. And I'd really would like to see this game when dry, to be honest, because after Flanagan's comments the week before, I think this would have been an absolute shutout if we were playing on the dry. And the ball could get out
I think
to
your point's very
Mulatalo
accurate
and
because
Katoa.
there's not going to be many games this year where all of the Sharks' points come through forward tries.
No, absolutely not.
Essentially crash plays, and they as you said, just would have they set up to not fuck
They
up.
just reset and reloaded and kept going through the middle.
Yeah.
And one of the Dragons do have some, us talking about how small they've been for recent years. DeBellin and Sewer aren't small guys, and then you add Saleh in there as well. They've actually added a bit of bulk to that pack. I would have liked to seen Luciano out there. I think he might have made a little bit of a difference for the Dragons as well. I think he's back this week, but Hazelton's a big one for mine. He's gone to an absolute whole new level. He's pushing himself up into the top 10 front rowers in the comp, and just he's punching out Supercoach scores of 70 every week. Like forwards don't, front rowers don't do that. Like I know it helps when you're scoring tries, but he's breaking tackles. He's consistently bending the line back. He's always there for the
and
run.
he's happy to have 2 and 3 in a set when he has to.
Yeah, and a lot of the time they use him as a decoy as well. Yeah. But he's always lining up. He's always ready to go. His defense is pretty strong as well, and it's really
probably
helping
a good example of how to bring on a young front row really well. Like we were crying out for him last year, and now they nursed him in and got him up and going, and now he is, as you said, a genuine
product of the environment as well. Obviously, Ueli, Hunt, and Rudolph being out early this year probably fast-tracked him a little bit as well.
Yeah.
He got a few more minutes than he would have otherwise. But Kafusi's another one, doing a really good job, considering I thought he might have been a spruik last year as a signing for them, and he wasn't fantastic, but he's really grown into a fantastic front rower this year.
He was never
a
bad
bit
for Parramatta.
20-minute player.
No, but he was like at Parramatta. He was. They actually miss him. Really, you really think about it.
Yes.
So, he always did a good job at Para. So,
but that's been part of the Sharks' problem with their middles, that they've basically had 5 blokes on a 20-minute rotation.
Yeah.
Like you look at it, Rudolph plays 20, Ueli plays 20, Hunt plays 20. And now they've finally found that linchpin that they can sort of go around. They're giving Hazelton 45, 50 minutes, and everyone else is doing that 20-minute roll around him. So I just think it adds a bit of stability to the middle. And then you've got McGuinness doing all the shit that people don't want to do and getting copping stitches for it.
Yeah, I was watching this at the Henry, and it's it must have been the bar or whatever it might have been. I assume so, because as you know, I always shout. He was Vossi. Oh, McGuinness is pouring blood. Was it Vossi? I think it was. Pouring blood, and there it is. Of course it is.
Yeah, there was, for what the weather dished up, it wasn't the worst game of football. Pretty forward dominated. Sloan had a try saver and a try assist, which was pretty good for him realistically in some of the performances he's put out this year. Suasele had good performances. Jack DeBellin had a very good game, as did Little. Ravalawa had a great game, obviously cashed in on a couple of opportunities out there provided by Ben Hunt, but Eisenhuth was a man possessed. I think he made 66 tackles or something in the middle of the field. Another reason I lost to Greg this week in the Supercoach. God damn you, Greg. I didn't play him and he did. Yeah. He hit 70-odd super. But yeah, I've mentioned how much he's been working in the middle for that team this year, and this was, his best performance of the year. What do you have? 12 runs, 66 tackles, and 1 miss.
Yeah.
Katoa, awesome. Ramey, and Iro all put in, they did their usual 150 metres running out of the backfield, helping their middle forwards. Katoa and Iro both had 7 tackle busts, which didn't provide points, but will do down the track with a bit of drier weather. Brayley, Wilton, McGuinness were all very good in the middle of the field. Talakai had a huge impact in the 20 minutes he was out there. It seems like less is more with him at the moment this year. They're giving him 20, 30 minutes each week, and he's coming on and really steamrolling through the middle of the field and adding that physicality with the bowling ball through the middle of the field and helping out those middles. Kafusi was good in the 45 minutes he was out there. Hazelton and Nikora were tremendous, but it was Hynes again. His kicking game, getting them around the field, kicking them, kicking the Dragons to death, putting them in corners, 2 try assists, and very important kicking game. So,
say the line.
Nicho for 3. I gave Eisenhuth 2, and either Ravalawa or Hazelton 1.
Give it to Tommy.
Yeah, done.
Got a pot plant for us this week, David?
I do. I just have to turn the page. Here we go. My pot plant this week was, I've written down the stats, but I haven't written down who it was. Oh, it was fucking Seyfarth.
Oh, yeah. Right.
15 minutes, 2 runs, 10 tackles, and a sin bin and a missed tackle.
Yeah.
Alex Seyfarth was my pot plant this week.
In interest of not naming Badger for one, let's go to Murray Martin. I've been underwhelmed since he's come back, to be honest.
Yeah, first game he was quite good, but yeah, since then
not offering a great deal of alternative in that team. Slap. Actually, we might as well go to the daily double. I'm going to slap the Warriors. I think they're not with us. I don't quite know how they're going to be back with us, but they need something to wake them up. Or they're going to run close, very much closer to last than first here.
Xavier Savage for mine. And the team that did win this weekend, 9 runs, 80 metres, made 6 tackles, but missed 3 and had 2 pretty important errors, which led to, pretty sure one of them led directly to points for Manly. So,
and who are you saluting?
Guzzy.
Yes.
You can't tell me that wasn't the performance of the round.
It was not.
Two tries, 16 runs, 156 metres, 7 tackle busts, 2 line breaks, 4 offloads, 28 tackles. He even had a kick for 20 odd metres.
I think he had a repeat set off it as well.
That's right. And he only made the 3 missed tackles. Absolutely tremendous, and has really kicked that left-hand edge for the Roosters into gear.
Phenomenal. And as well, the only reason I hadn't written him down is because I think I saluted him last week.
Yep.
But I'm so happy to see him back to his best. And as I said, if it doesn't take any shred of intelligence to think he should be the first picked back row for New South Wales now, particularly with Murray injured and et cetera, et cetera. Olaquatu's played himself out of a spot as he did last year. Very hard to come up with some options there once you go past him, to be honest. But, Liam Martin, obviously, would probably be my 2. But, yeah, I think he is first pick for New South Wales. I'm going to salute Cody Nikorima. As I said, great season. And they obviously don't win without him. But to have his fingerprints on just about every single point that came out of that game, I think he's found a new lease of life there under Bennett, who's always been a fan of him. Actually, he did play his previous best footy there. Yeah. So Bennett obviously has a bit of an idea about this
Darius
game.
Boyd.
The new Darius. He might be on the way to South soon. Did he come from South? He was at South, wasn't he? Where was he when he was doing nothing? Melbourne. He's been somewhere in between. Was it just Brisbane? No, he's been somewhere in between. The Warriors?
Might have been.
Anyway, this is good radio. Idea. All right, who cares? He's playing good footy now, and that's the important thing. I'm happy for him. Check out Footy and Frothies on all the socials. Check us out on rugbyleaguemerch.com. Buy some of our hats and shirts and whatnot. You can wear them around at Magic Round, which is just poking its head over the horizon now. Looking forward to that. We'll be back to preview that next week. But first, we've got to preview round 10, and you'll see that on our YouTube channel as well as Spotify. Anyway, good podcasts are found. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Barn. Bye-bye.
Thank you, mate.